Okay, I hope y'all can see me. I'm Lucas Rudd, and I'm here with a tits tackle tip for you guys. Okay, so today's video is about shaky heads. I'm sure a lot of you have fished shaky heads in the past. They are one of the most productive ways to get fish when the bite's tough. This video here is my top 5 shaky head baits. So the first bait most people think about when shaky head fishing is the straight tail worm. This here is one of my favorite straight tail worms. It is the man's jelly worm. I like that it's got a straight tail, but it's also got that small little paddle thing. It doesn't add too much action, but it just looks nice in the water and stuff. It's thinner, so it floats up a little better than most baits that have the dense plastic dense plastic worm tail looky thing, like the Zoom trick worm, which is arguably the most popular shaky head worm. You know, the Zoom trick. Some other worms that work. The Zoom trick worm, which is the most popular shaky head worm in the country. The Z-Man worms that float up, I like those in the winter when the water's cold and the PVC baits don't float as well. The Bass Munitions worm works great. The Robo worms, I've heard good things about them. I haven't tried them yet. But yeah, no. Straight tail worm's the best thing. I like this black color. Green pumpkin's a great color. Grape is a good color for the jelly worms. Watermelon, and then a shad color works really well sometimes in the fall when the shad are just sort of cruising up along there. I'll put a shad color worm on a shaky head and just drag it along the riprap, and fish seem to like that in the fall. Next up, I like this bait is no longer made. It's discontinued. This is a Strike King 3X Centipede in a green pumpkin color, or a dark watermelon color, something like that. This one does not work on the traditional screw lock shaky heads because of the material. It's the Z-Man Laztec material. So you need a different shaky head for this one, but you know, you fish it the same way. This one is great for bed fishing because it floats up. It's easy to find. It's great for sight fishing. Great for shallow water, pressured water, and the usual. It's got that garlic scent in it, and sometimes when that starts to wear off in the packages, I will put a little smelly jelly in there, and that adds a little fleck, and fish seem to like that. Next up, I like a crawdad. This is the Zoom Speed Craw. It's the generic. It's the one I had right now. It looks really good on a small shaky head in the water. This one I'll fish a little differently. I'll hop it more than I'll hop it and drag it instead of just sitting and shaking it. But you know, this works pretty well. This is good, again, good for shallow water, good for bed fishing, good for crawdads. I'll fish this on a heavier shaky head in deeper water with current for smallmouths. Again, same colors: black, green pumpkin, watermelon. I also like a sort of reddish color in the spring, or a black and blue color. Those both work really well. Crawdads, they are a staple in the spring. They're a staple when the full moon's out. Bassy crawdads, guys, don't overlook it. Something short and compact on a shaky head can be deadly. This is number 4 here. This is a beaver. This is the Missile Baits D-Bomb in a bruiser color. This is one of my favorite flipping baits. This is one of my favorite beavers. For beavers, you fish it more like a crawl, but you can also shake it in place. Sort of like a hybrid. The way you fish it is sort of like a hybrid between the way you fish a worm and the way you fish a crawdad. They work well for when the fish want a bigger profile, but a finessey profile nonetheless. This is a bigger fish bait for the shaky head, but it'll catch the numbers too when they get super aggressive sometimes. Number 5, right here. This is bait number 5 for shaky heads. This one I've got rigged up. It's gonna be the first one I try. It's a brush hawk. Now I know most people are like, it's creature baits, beavers and brush hawks. What's the difference? Huge difference. This is skinnier. It's got a more finessey profile. It's got a really finessey profile, but a ton of action in it. I'll fish this one again. I'll drag it. I'll hop it. I'll shake it in place some, but less so than that. You fish this more like a crawdad than you fish a beaver or worm. But the other thing I do with the brush hogs, this is where they really shine, is when there's shallow current. I'll cast it upstream and just sort of let it bump along the bottom on the 1/8 or 1/16 ounce shaky head, with 4-pound test, 6-pound test line, something like that, and just let it bounce along and have those twirlers going like that in the current. Yeah, these work really well. The brush hogs. This color is called Black Ruby. It's a nice red craw color. Works well in the spring and fall. Late summer too. Anytime the craws are active, this color works. Or if you have red crawdads, naturally red crawdads in your river, this will work. Also like the black colors for brush hogs. The California 420, since it's creature bait. Darker creature baits work better. Black and blue. Green pumpkin, of course. I'll get these set up on my rigging dragger and tank test them. Sorry, my camera cut out. The brush hog has good action on the fall. Good action when dragged. It mimics a large crawdad or a little worm or something like that. Maybe a little sunfish, who knows? Who knows what the fish see in this? It's creature bait. It mimics all sorts of things. Takes a while to sort of unstand up, I guess. But does have that slow thing. It looks almost like a fighting craw. It works really well around gravel, sparse wood, some grass, bigger rocks. It's not great around rocks with a lot of crevices in it. It'll get, you know, any shaky head isn't. This brush hog, I love this around gravel, and this works really well in current. And you can also sort of swim it, and that seems to like slow swim it and then drop it, kill it, shake it a little, and then get it back up and swim it some more, and it looks sort of like a swimming crawdad. It's one of the most productive shaky head baits I have. I love it. Great lure. So next up, we have the straight tail worm. This one's not rigged very well on the shaky head, but it's doing what it's supposed to do. This is a man's jelly worm. What I like about this one is in the warmer water it'll float up, but in the colder water it'll sort of stand straight on the bottom. And this is a good one for shaking in place, because you can see the quiver. It quivers real well in shaking in place. It hops well. It drags really well. I'll drag it around big rock piles. It looks almost eel-like when it's dragged. This is my favorite straight tail worm. I mean, other straight tail worms work just fine. It's all about personal preference. If you like the trick worm, go with the trick worm. If you like the power bait worm, go with the power bait worm. I like the jelly worm, so I like to stick with the jelly worm. Up third is the crawdad. Now, the crawdad is not as traditional a shaky head bait as the other two. And it sort of sits down more than does that, but it drags really well. It doesn't come through cover as well as the rest of them for some reason or another. Looks like a crawdad that's moving without a care in the world. Turn over on its side a lot, which you'd think wouldn't do well, but for the crawdad it seems to work. Do just fine. I'm sure you could do a rage craw this way. I like the speed craw because it's got a little more subtle action. Yep. Hang on. It looks like a crawdad. You can sort of jig it, hop it, whatever. Drag it. It's good around, again, it's a good gravel bait. All shaky heads, most shaky head baits are good around gravel. It's not as big, it's not as easy to find, but it's better in clear water. Works alright in current, works well around smallmouths. This is the crawdad. It doesn't swim very well, as you can see there. Sometimes you'll get one claw or both claws going, but you gotta move fast. It's a good finesse flipping bait on the shaky head. You'll get like a sparse brush pile. Flip it in. It's got decent falling action. Smallmouths seem to like it. This is more of a smallmouth bait than a largemouth bait, but the largemouths will hit it too. You can get most beavers to fish like that, to fish well on a shaky head. I like the D-bomb. D-bomb is my favorite beaver for almost everything. Now this one also has another thing it's really good at. This is a great saltwater bait. Is the D-bomb on this. It mimics a blue crab. The redfish just eat it up when you're out redfishing it. You can sort of see it though, right? You see something? Let's see if I can get a up top view of it. If you're a little redfish, you see something that looks like that. moving through the water. It looks sort of like a little crab moving along. Redfish hit it, black drum hit it. Caught my biggest black drum I ever caught on an artificial. It was a 29-incher over the summer on a D-bomb on a shaky head. Caught some decent drum, you know, some slot-sized ones, and then some bigger ones, all the way up to double digits. It's a great flats bait, great for everything. It's great for the saltwater stuff. I'm sure a permit would hit this too. If you had a thick enough hook, you could definitely fish for like permits. Who knows what else? Bonnet heads would I've caught a bonnet head shark on this. It's a great all-around bait. This shaky head setup, I don't know why it works. I mean, I do. It looks like crap. I don't know why the D-bomb works so well as opposed to, say, a zoom beaver, which works decent, but not this well. Maybe it's just the design. Who knows? It's a great bait, though. Finally, the last bait. It's the Strike King 3X Laztec Centipede. No longer made. It's a discontinued bait. I like this sort of finesse French fry looking worm, or a Laztec finesse worm, whatever, on the shaky head. A different kind of shaky head. I don't have a screw lock on this one because it doesn't. The Laztec and screw locks don't work that well together. What I like about this is it just stands straight up. You can sort of shake it, get a ton of action shaking this. It works really well in the current. But what I like this one for is sight fishing, bed fishing, any of that stuff. Just stands straight up. It's real easy to find. I'll put smelly jelly on it. I know it comes with some garlic scent, but that wears off eventually. So I'll put smelly jelly on it when that wears off. It's a big fish bait. It's a good bait for up shallow, good bait for sight fishing, good bait for pressured fish. So you can sort of see it there, just from straight on. The fish sees a little thing like that. Maybe it mimics a little worm or bait fish or whatever. Just stand straight up. The fish like it. It's basically a Ned rig. It's basically a heavier version of a Ned rig. But it's also more weedless. It's got great action. It's got a ton of subtle action. Might be my best sight fishing bait. It's definitely in the top 5. I'll do a top 5 sight fishing video soon. So these are my top 5 shaky head baits. A quick recap: the crawdad, brush hog, beaver, straight tail worm, and then straight tail worm, and finesse French fry worm that floats. I hope you learned something today. Lucas out.